Hello, Divine and Binary here, and let's talk about. I wanted to say manifestations because this was inspired by me watching a video of a friend on manifestation blocks. But let's rephrase it because ultimately, manifestation is what? Manifestation is attuning to. Scrap that. Manifestation, or like effective manifestation, right? Like the ultimate manifestation that we're striving for is getting everything that we want and not getting anything that we don't want. And it happens when we are aligned as a human. So ultimately, mastering manifestation means just healing our trauma, our blocks, our ideas about how the world works, and all of that. So everything that we want is in the same direction: abundance, mental health, relationships that we want, adventure, joy, happiness. Everything is in the same direction. So let's just talk about advancing on this path of going towards all those things. So this person was talking about the things that block people from manifesting. And the language they were using kind of inspired me to talk about other side of this. So I'm not gonna say or go deep into what are possible kinds of issues themselves, but I want to talk about the framework around them, or beliefs about. It's kind of, again, layer deeper. So those are beliefs about how the world works and how eventually also human works, human consciousness, and human health. And yes, it is universal because consciousness is universal. It's one consciousness, everybody shares it. You might not believe, it doesn't matter, because you decide what you believe, you decide what works for you. And if you want to choose to not believe in something that is very easy, you may opt into believing into something that's very hard, and that's your right as a human to do so. So I chose 3 major holding patterns that kind of prevent you from moving forward in healing specific blocks that you're working with. And it's very important. You know how generally there's a lot of, I'm not gonna bring you links about it because I generally don't care about proving things. If you want to prove something to yourself, you can do research, or you can just feel into yourself and know what's true and what's not true. When you're aligned, you can know the truth without even listening to anybody. But as well, you can know the truth when you hear it. It's not about truth versus lies, it's just truth as in the essence of the workings. So the first major limiting pattern that affects your development, your healing, and your moving forward is the idea, it's a history block. What that means is, I've had this, I've dealt with this so many times, and it always turns out like this. So basically, you're being past focused. You're focusing on the past where something did not work specifically, because of course in the past there also were instances of things working out, but this specific thing is like, it's not about even what worked and what didn't work, right? It's about, this is how it is because I've seen it before being like that. Because even when you are generally in a positive mindset or a place where maybe you don't even think something is going wrong in your life, so you're generally satisfied, it doesn't mean you can't expand more. But to be able to expand more, you have to know that whatever you've seen already is not it. That's not the end of the journey, because journey always continues. You just need to know the, not destination but direction. You just need to know the direction and be open to receive new ways of moving yourself towards that direction. So this history block, again, it doesn't have to be just your own experience. It's like I saw it on the television. I know it's what happened to my parents. I know this, I know that. That's for sure. Science says that, and we all know that science keeps always saying one thing and then the opposite thing as soon as they discover something. So science does have this good science is free of this block, right? Mostly. Because without freedom from that block, science would not exist. Because there is this assumption that for now, things are like that. But then they keep doing more research and finding out more things, right? So that's what you need to have in regards to yourself and your life. This mindset of whatever was happening was appropriate at the time when it was happening. But then even deeper than that, you also know that it was happening or brought to your attention because you were a match to that certain experience. Other people had completely different experiences, right? Regardless of the background. You can have yourself and your sibling, or yourself and maybe your classmate, because you and your sibling might share similar blocks due to their bringing in the same environment. But your classmate might have had completely different ideas of what's possible, what's not possible, what the world is like, etc. So it is important to notice when you hear yourself saying something like that. Oh, I cannot have this because. And when it references the history, you know immediately that's not true, because you only have all these moments in your library of times it happened like that, only because you kept basically believing in that version of reality. As soon as you realize that and release that, you become your own person. Then you don't have to repeat your family patterns. You don't have to repeat your childhood upsets, because every moment is a new moment. What happened before means nothing. You're a new person. So that's the first block. And that first block kinda brings us to the second one. They're connected, everything's connected, whatever. But they're connected in the sense that people believe sometimes that what happened many times before, not just that it's true, there are often times that we know it's not true, but there is belief in time. And basically that the belief is that because it was happening for a long time, now it will take a long time to dissolve. So there is this correlation created between what you were building for a long time will take a long time to take apart. The issue with this is, of course, in itself, problem in itself is that we're holding ourselves back, right? So if you believe that something will take a long time to do, oftentimes you don't do it. So you don't even attempt to change that pattern or belief or habit because you have this belief that underlying that it will take a long time and a lot of effort to dismantle it, right? Or then there's another situation where you want to get rid of it, but because it's based on this idea that it's gonna demand a lot of time and effort, it keeps not going away. Because guess what? What you believe is showing itself to you over and over again. And why this is important, the sentence, what you believe keeps showing itself to you over and over again, is because all these times before that you use as this scary compilation or a pile or a building of this wrong situation or a difficult habit. In fact, it was just a repetition of the same choice. When you believe in something, it's easier for you to choose it, the same thing over and over again. And it's easier not because it's hard to make a new choice. It really is not. The reason it is easier is because you are not doing it consciously anymore, but you are doing it as a habit on autopilot. So your body is not making any effort right now while choosing this old belief over and over again. When you decide to change your posture, let's say, right? You were like walking kind of slouching and it started to get onto your like back and maybe you feel some pain and discomfort and you're like, okay, it's time to change this. Your natural kind of habitual way would be to slouch again. But in every moment, if you're conscious of what you're doing, you always know that you have all the choices. So you can slouch, but you don't have to. And when you notice that you're slouching, you just make a choice to stay straight, right? So you keep making this new choice over and over again. The same way you kept making the old choice over and over again. Until it becomes so natural to you that you don't even remember the old choice existed. So the goal is not to make it habitual, because maybe when it is about posture, it's fine to have it habitual. But it's also not entirely so good to not be aware of your body in general, in space, or how it feels. You always want to be kind of scanning and be like, does this feel good? Can I make this feel better? Should I change? Should I sit differently? Should I stand up? Should I go for a walk? Because you want to be constantly connected to your body. So, going back to this time thing. No, by doing something many times over and over again, you're not making it into a bigger problem. It's the same issue. It's just a difference in choice. I always paid attention to negative stuff because I had reasons. Because I wanted to fix the problems. But constantly focusing on negative stuff brings you more negative stuff. And then you end up at a place where you feel helpless because you can't solve all the problems, because the majority of problems you're focusing on are outside of yourself. So when instead you start focusing on positive things that are already there, you don't need to imagine anything positive, even though that also would not be a bad idea. But you attune your focus. You know, what's the word? Attune. I only remember that right now. Your lens of how you're looking at the world to see what you like to see, what makes you feel good. So then you're happy and at the place where you can actually affect something outside of yourself in a certain way, or can take an action that is productive. All right. So those were 2 blocks. And the third block is I cannot do it by myself. And it's really important to not confuse this with the other aspect of I deserve help or I don't deserve help, or do I have to do things by myself or do I not have to do things by myself? Have a pause. So I cannot do this by myself is the idea again of I am broken and somebody has to fix me. It's a very general description of that. So when you have this idea, you literally again trap yourself in a situation where you feel that you are not in charge of your life. And that perpetuates the victimhood and this feeling of being out of control at all times. And that escalates anxiety and depression, all of those things that we are trying to not escalate. And with time, leave behind ourselves, right? And every time I say with time, I don't mean after years and years of struggle. I mean with time. It can be 1 second, it can be 10 years. All individual, and everything is based on how ready you are to make that next step and the choices you're making for yourself. None of it needs to be judged as positive or negative. Nothing in the world needs to be judged as positive or negative, but that's also what is easy for humans technically to navigate the world. That's why we do it. So this block, I cannot do it myself. Yes, of course, it's great to ask for help. It's great to ask for help of professionals. Let's say again, depression. I cannot heal my depression myself. Where would that bring you? That would bring you to a place where you keep going to a professional, whether it is a psychiatrist, a therapist, a spiritual healer, a hypnotist, any kind of person or any kind of outside authority. It can be a petting zoo. It can be anything. It can be crystal rocks. Anything that you believe, anything outside of you that you believe is saving you, whether bringing you to the next step in your journey or whether literally it becomes something that you need at every moment, it does not free you. It limits you. It attaches yourself to that resource and making you dependent on that resource. And being dependent on anything but yourself is a limiting situation, and it's the opposite of healing. I am not talking against interdependence. I'm not talking against relationships and supporting each other. That's not what I'm saying. Again, It's discussion of the belief and the basis, right? When we believe that we cannot do something without the other person, that's where, for example, abandonment issues get triggered. Because as a baby, being abandoned meant death. And we were scared of death because natural instinct for a body, for a human, is to try to survive. So we did all these things just to make sure that we're not abandoned. Right? We abandoned ourselves, we changed our behavior, etc., etc. So we believe that we depend on something outside of us. And at that point, it was true. There are points in life where physically it is true. But it doesn't mean that you have to keep bringing those points forward into your future with every step. Not in the future, but into your now. But through your now, you're bringing it into the future that will happen, right? So in the now, you have to know that every moment I have everything I need. So when you are somewhere with the person or resource that is helping you, you're understanding deeply that whatever is happening is helping you activate your own healing mechanisms. And you can do it by yourself. And when they are helping you, it's also you doing it by yourself. Right? Because there are many ways, many things can work for one or another person. I just went through this experience by myself. Like, nothing that I'm saying is something that I have not experienced. And that's how these topics also come up. Having a certain trauma and just frantically searching between like this kind of healer, that kind of healer, oh my god, everything works but this, and I can't do anything about it. But when you make a decision that you want to change something, and when you become receptive, so you like clean your mind of, you don't even, it's not an action, like you don't erase your mind or anything, but it's just you allow it to let information in, and that's when right information comes in. I listened to another person talking about something else, and it put things where I realized that horrible, uncurable trauma does not belong right now with me anymore. And none of the like processes, whether it takes you 10 years or it takes you, as for me it was like 1 minute or a second, right? None of those are better or worse. But you always have to know, not just believe me, but know within yourself that it is possible for you and that it's available to you. And look for ways in which it is, to find the proof to this truth. Release the commitment to finding the fault and commit to finding the proof of wellness, right? And support. So then, when you are presented with an opportunity to integrate whatever you're trying to integrate, you are not attached to your idea of, oh, since I'm not hypnotized, this cannot be happening. It's not healing because I'm not in my subconscious. And about hypnotizing, of course, we can talk a lot about separately, because we are all hypnotized majority of the day. So that's an interesting topic to discuss, but whatever. Back. In every moment of your life, every experience that you're going through, whether it's washing your dishes or talking to a friend about whatever, in those experiences, there are certain patterns that come up. And because you are the one perceiving them, they carry lessons. It's not because somebody's trying to teach you. It's because you are, through interactions with outside world, you seeing the mirror of yourself. You're doing something and you're getting something back. Whether it's visual, whether it's audio, whether it's, somebody's responding somewhat to something, and then there is a reaction within you. There is always this process of showing you who you are, what you are, how you are, and where to go next. And if you're attentive enough, which means just not preoccupied with upholding the painful reality that you are in right now, just release the commitment to pain. And then you free this capacity to receive wellness and love. All right? So just to recap real quick, because it turned out to be quite a long video. So 3 blocks that you might be or could be or should be aware of while working with your mental health, manifesting anything in regards to human evolution, your personal human evolution. First block is a history block. It happened many times before, that means it's going to be happening again. Not true. Another one, it will take a certain amount of time to resolve because it's been happening for a certain amount of time. Not true. Release it. Release it. Also notice how your brain right now is running around and fighting all the cases that prove me wrong. Because you're not proving me wrong, you're just advocating for limitations and for yourself. And you can do it, you're free to do it, it's all right. And the third one, I cannot do it myself. Everything you can do yourself, everything starts with yourself, ends with yourself. Notice those ideas where you feel helpless. That's the core of it. I can do it myself, hence I feel helpless. And give love to that part of yourself. And make a commitment to opening up to love, and you'll see it coming through. All right? Okay. I see you later. I love you very much.